Welcome to the PharmaSource podcast, recorded on stage at CDMO Live Europe 2026 in Rotterdam. This episode is sponsored by Pharma, a fully integrated CRDMO providing research, development and manufacturing services from early discovery to commercial production.
Our first guest on the podcast stage today started his career as a bench chemist and has spent 32 years working his way through pretty much every corner of the pharmaceutical development process and is now COO of CRAMSN Research Park, one of India's most integrated drug development and manufacturing platforms. So Dr. Vijay Vittal Mathad joins me to talk about what it takes to be a genuine end-to-end CDMO partner and what the industry is getting wrong. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So you spent over 30 years in pharmaceutical development, from bench chemistry all the way to running operations as a CDMO. So tell me, what's the biggest shift you've seen in what clients actually need in your time in the industry? So, from 30 years ago to now, what's changed?
The biggest shift which I have seen over the last 20 years is the evolution of the CDMO relation from the transactional service model to the strategic relationship model. Earlier, CDMO were expected to execute. Today, they want to take the ownership. So over the last 20 years, increasingly, the operations are becoming complex. Molecules are becoming complex. Regulatory rigors are increasing. Compliance rigors are increasing. And there is the raw material resilience is also becoming tough. Because of this, the clients are expected to take the ownership and then integrate the whole service and be with them till end of the program.
Yeah, I see. Interesting. So tell me about your one-stop shop model. So discovery through to commercial manufacturing. So what does that actually mean for a client? Where does it change the experience?
The one-stop shop doesn't mean that offering multiple services under one roof. It is eliminating the friction during the lifecycle management of the drug development. The drug development process involves multiple activities, either from the drug discovery or process development, then the scale-up, and then all the way to commercial manufacturing. There are so many handoffs are involved. It's like a relay race. So there is a stick, that's a program, that's a product. When a person moves from one person to hand over the product from one person to other person, there will be a knowledge transfer should happen. If there is any mistake in the knowledge process, then the project is going to be in the crisis or in the risk. So to eliminate the risk, the errors which is happening during the transfer has to be eliminated. So we are going to support, integrate the services, see that all the activities under one roof are happen integrated way without any errors. So we eliminate them. In pharmaceutical industry, most of the errors and then delay happen at the interfaces. So when we are there to remove those interfaces errors.
Yeah, reducing the sort of bottleneck and friction caused by tech transfers.
Yeah, exactly.
But tell me though, as a CDMO, how can you actually truly understand clients' pain points? Timeline pressure, the economics, what's riding on a program. How do you sort of approach that?
You see, it is very difficult to understand because there are different kind of clients. So one is a small virtual biotech company. One is a medium-sized biotech company. One is a big biotech company. One is innovator biotech company. So each one has their pain points different. Yeah. Therefore, we have to go beyond our understanding and put our leg on their shoes and understand that what their pain point is. For example, it is leaving a kid in a crutch. So when a 2-year baby is left in the crutch, so now we are very worried. That is what is happening, what he is doing, and then whether he slept or not, whether he eat the food or not. That's we are worrying. In the similar way, when any client given a project to you, then it is our responsibility to take care of that project. So we have to go beyond, because for small company, it is a decades of research. One molecule that makes a life and death of their program. So now we cannot mess up with that program. So the timelines pressures will be there. And then problems are different kind for a small biotech company. But for a large biotech company, the issues are different. The portfolio prioritization. Suddenly there is a change in the product. Today there is an important product, and tomorrow they change the product. And there is a raw material resilience, and then securing the supply chain, and then regulatory compliance, and then sustainability. There are so many things which drives the innovator products. Therefore, we need to go beyond a certain extent to understand their pain points. Once you understand what that requires, so that we can really help them really take their project from end to end without any issues.
So tell me more about that then. As you mentioned, a virtual biotech compared to a big pharma client have very different needs. So
Correct.
How should a CDMO be thinking about that? Can an organization actually serve such different organizations well?
Yeah, yes, we can definitely serve both because, as I said, serving under one roof is to eliminate the errors. So it doesn't mean that we can just under one roof we do everything. The issue here is the one size doesn't fit all. So we have to look them in a different perspective. So that approach, so that we have to avoid that approach that, so they have to be visualized in a different manner. These people, the innovator biotech company has to be seen in a different manner. If you approach that, then you have to have that kind of infrastructure, that kind of capability, that kind of team, that kind of operating model. You have to possess all of them. For example, for a medicinal chemistry process or medicinal chemistry development, a drug discovery program, and then process development program, a CMA program, they have to be seen from the different angle. So drug discovery program cannot be given to the process development people. Yeah, process development program cannot be given to the drug development people. And then formulation will be another angle adding to it. Therefore, if you have a different operating model under one roof, and then you can see them, and then people should be different, protocol should be different, processes should be different, then you can handle under one roof, we can handle both innovator company, drug discovery company, small biotech company, big biotech company, we can handle it. Definitely we can handle it.
Like really tailoring the approach and sort of leveraging the expertise of each sort of section.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Let's talk about supply chain resilience. It's sort of moved up on everyone's agenda there.
I think that is one of the very the critical topic in the pharmaceutical world.
Yep.
Now, in the last one decade, what we have learned is that resilience is not built during the crisis. It should be built from it's not an afterthought process. We have to build it from the beginning. Now, we have learned with a very tough way during the pandemic and during this geopolitical disruptions. So what happens is, if you depend upon one region, then it's going to put your program in a very tough zone. So what we have to do is, we have to plan from the beginning that the procurement from one sector or one region or development of the vendors is one part of the equation. So what we do normally in CRAMSN is we do back integrate the chemistry. When it comes to chemistry, most of the problem happens in the chemistry development. So we back integrate and go to 20 stage, 25 stage, 30 stage, as long as it make a commercial sense to you. So that make a development, keep the development package ready, and then go for developing a vendor from the different region. Don't depend upon only one region. So it is a global development and regional manufacturing. So now you have to be global in the development, then select the vendors from the different part of the global, and global guidance should be driven by the regional manufacturing. So if you back integrate, keep the things ready, when the crisis happens, then you have to have an infrastructure, you have to have a manufacturing plants. So at CRAMSN we have 18 manufacturing plants, so that when such kind of things happen, suddenly we go to one of the plant and we start manufacturing, and then we try to avoid. So therefore it is a mixed approach. We have to take a hybrid approach. One equation is develop a multiple vendors from the different region, and second equation is you back integrate your chemistry, go back to the stage where it make a commercial, economic, time and critical sense. Based on that, you can avoid this kind of raw material disruptions.
Tell me more about that then, the regionalization versus globalization sort of topic. So is this a structural shift for the industry, or a temporary reaction to an uncertain moment? Is this here to stay?
Yeah, it's connected to the previous question. Regionalization versus globalization is not a temporary reaction. It is a structural shift. It's a structural shift. They all across, either it may be a small biotech company or a large innovator company. So they are looking it as a hybrid thought. So regionalization is one quotient, that the globalization is the other quotient. They have to hybrid way. They have to they think on the factor that we have to be global in thought process, regional in manufacturing process. Therefore, we need to develop a process in such a way that the thinking process should be global and manufacturing should happen regional. So we cannot depend on only one region. So we should really focus on the multiple regions with a global mindset.
That's really interesting. That matches a conversation I had just yesterday, actually.
Thank you.
Let's move on to talk about another big topic in pharma right now, sustainability.
Yeah.
Pharma companies are setting net zero targets. A lot of their carbon emissions are held within Scope 3.
Correct.
How seriously should CDMOs be taking that? Is the industry moving fast enough on this?
Yeah, sustainability is very, very important to sustain in the business.
Yeah.
Again, it is also not an afterthought process. Earlier, when the CDMOs only expected to execute, right? Today, they expected the sustainable solutions. To have that, we need to focus on the sustainable the models like net zero, green chemistry principles. So those are important things we need to adopt to become a sustainable supplier in the CDMO industry. Yeah.
We're actually having a decarbonisation hour a bit later
Exactly.
on.
So now there are three points which we need to adopt. The most of the net zero are the sustainability. To achieve the sustainability one is the transportation, raw material transportation. So you have, I have seen in multiple products where what happens is the transportation of the raw materials required for manufacturing of your product, the mark, the score from the transportation seems to more than 50%. Second one is the product processing. When you process the product, your product, either in formulation or in chemistry, there is a atom economy, there is a process mass index. These are the green chemistry principle. Process mass index of the water and organic, that means how many liters of the solvent you used per kg of the API. How many aqueous you have used per kg of the API. So what is your kinetics of the reaction? So what is the temperature at which you are operating? There is a reaction which is operating at minus 120 or plus 180. So that requires a lot of energy. So using your technology or using your science, the knowledge, how can you bring down the extreme reaction conditions to the natural ambient reaction conditions? So that will save you a lot of energy. That will add to your carbon zero. The third one is utility and energy, which is required to conduct those kind of reactions will be minimized. That is the second option. Third one is there is a technology intensive processes wherein you can adopt a process flow chemistry rather than the batch chemistry. In the flow chemistry, you can reduce the kinetics or you can increase the kinetics. You can avoid the thermodynamic reactions to the kinetic reactions where at minus 20 or minus 80 can be avoided. So this is the second option. The third one is the industry has to obtain is they have to focus on the energy. They have to go solar, they have to go wind, they have to go biofuels. So these three, if you make part of your sustainability solutions, definitely you can beat it. It is a must to have. So without the sustainability, you cannot sustain in the pharma. So that is one of the things which you have to definitely follow the sustainability. It is a part and parcel of your ideation process or your your fundamental process to be in the pharma business.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, really interesting there. Let's come back to you for a minute. So you started as a scientist a few moons ago now. Tell me, how much does that still sort of shape the way that you now are leading this large CDMO?
Definitely, it's a very interesting question. Really, the bench chemist, as a bench chemist, whatever I have learned over the last 20 years, till helping me to the work as a business leader. So there are two types of activities. One is the business drives the science. when business drives the science is under pressure. The second part is where the science drives the business. When science drives the business, data drives the science. Therefore, drives the business. So you have to be depend on the data. So all decisions are taken on the data. When the issues happen, the client try to listen the transparent, the reason of the failure or OS or success or timeline. So when a scientist speak with a client, and then when realistically you put the information or the problem in front of the client, they appreciate you. So therefore, the transparency is very, very important thing. That transparency comes from the data. So therefore, as a scientist, when I look at the data, and then when I discuss with my team, and then I understand that what is really happening in the product. So why the delay is happening, what all we can do. So as a pure businessman, probably I may not guide the team properly. So in this case, what is happening is I can understand the pain point of my team members also, pain point of my clients also, so that I can strike a balance, that I can tell that this is what the reason we need few weeks more, or we need a few months more, or we need this kind of transparent conversation with the client is going to help us to establish a trust. So therefore, it's more on establishing a trust with the client. When you go with the data, they believe. So as a scientist, I think always it's very, very beneficial for me to be as a very seasoned business leader is what I believe.
Yeah, really, really interesting perspective there, actually. Before we close up, I just want to ask you a fun one. What's the hardest part of your job right now?
The hardest part will be the sustainability, cost, timeline, and raw material resilience, right? So you need to balance. So one side you are a sustainable. The sustainability comes with a cost. So we are focusing on sustainability. Second side we are focusing on the cost. Third side we are focusing on the timeline. So balancing the strike between these three equation, or balancing the equation between these three items, is one of the toughest part. The second one is the building the team, getting the right talent. And then maintaining the right talent with a big CDMO setup is one more tough task. So is what I briefly, if I say that these two are going to be a very tough task for me as a business leader.
Good luck with that. And Vijay, thanks a lot for sitting down with me today.
Thank you very
much. It's been a really,
much.
really great conversation.